For basically all of human history, invention has been, well, a human thing. An idea, a spark, a creation. But what if the next world-changing inventor isn't a person at all? Today, we are diving deep into a new kind of AI, one that doesn't just help us think, it thinks for itself, and it invents. And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi question anymore. This is a real, urgent legal problem that's being fought over in courtrooms and patent offices right now, all across the globe. Our entire idea of intellectual property, the whole system, is built on the assumption of a human creator. And that foundation? It's starting to show some serious cracks. So far, the legal world has had a pretty simple, unified answer. And that answer is a hard no. The consensus is crystal clear. To be named as an inventor on a patent, you have to be a human being, a natural person, as they say in legalese. It's a simple rule for a world that, frankly, just isn't that simple anymore. And we're not just talking about some vague policy here. This is a direct quote from a major U.S. Federal Circuit Court ruling. It's legal precedent. It draws a very clear line in the sand, holding up a tradition that's been around for centuries. But that's the thing. That line in the sand, it's starting to get washed away. Because we're not talking about AI as just a fancy calculator anymore. We are now entering an era where AI is the creator. And this is where the law and this incredible new technology are having a head-on collision. It's a story about how a new kind of intelligence is forcing us to rewrite the rules of the game. Okay, so what is this new tech that's causing all the fuss? Let's get into what we actually mean when we say agentic AI. All right, the word you really need to latch onto here is autonomously. An agentic system isn't just sitting there waiting for your next command. You give it a big, high-level goal, and it figures out the steps, it makes the decisions, and it takes action all by itself to get there. It is a massive shift in how we interact with technology. So, you've probably played around with generative AI, right? Things like ChatGPT. You give it a prompt, it gives you a response. It's an amazing tool. But agentic AI is different. It's not your tool, it's your agent. It doesn't just respond, it acts. It makes plans, it pursues goals on its own. It's the difference between asking for a recipe and having a chef literally go shopping, buy the ingredients, and cook you the entire meal. Think about it like this. Instead of you having to ask a dozen questions, what are the flights, what are the hotels, you just say, hey, plan my trip. The agent then goes and does it all. It builds a whole plan, books everything, and even negotiates for you. And if something goes wrong, like a flight delay, it adjusts on the fly. That is true autonomy. Okay, so with that in mind, let's dive into the legal drama at the heart of all this. It all comes down to one AI system that really put this whole human-only club to the test. Meet DABUS. Its creator, a guy named Stephen Thaler, argues that this AI system independently came up with two inventions. And we're not talking about small tweaks here. We're talking genuinely new ideas. A food container designed using fractal geometry and a special flashing light for emergencies designed to be more noticeable. Thaler filed for patents, but here's the twist. He named DABUS as the inventor. And what happened next was, well, a total mess, legally speaking. The big players, the US, the UK, the European Union, all gave it a hard no. Australia was a roller coaster. A court there initially said yes, an AI can be an inventor, but then a higher court overturned it. South Africa actually granted the patent, but that was more of a rubber stamp. They don't do a deep review. Switzerland tried to split the difference. It's the perfect picture of a legal system totally unprepared for what's coming. And look, don't for a second think this is just some weird, niche academic debate. The number of patents that involve AI is absolutely exploding. A 50% surge in just over a year? That's insane. It shows you this isn't a future problem. It's a right-now problem. The DABUS case? That was just the first shot. So you're probably wondering why all the confusion? Why can't everyone just agree? Well, it's because different countries have totally different legal algorithms for deciding what even counts as a patentable invention, especially when it comes to software. Okay, so in the US, they have this thing called the Alice/Mayo test. It's basically a two-step process. First, they ask, is this thing just an abstract idea, like a math equation? If it is, they move to the second question. Okay, but does it do something more? Is there an inventive concept that connects that abstract idea to a real-world, practical use? Now, let's hop over to Europe. The European Patent Office, or EPO, looks at the world through a completely different lens. For them, it all boils down to a single idea. Does the invention have technical character? For them, it's not good enough for your software to just
run on a computer. It has to solve a real technical problem. And it needs to create what they call a further technical effect, something that goes beyond just making the computer do its normal computery things. Think less about calculating numbers faster and more about making a car's braking system safer.
So when you put them side by side, you can really see the different philosophies at play, right? The US is all about that practical application. Europe is focused on solving a technical problem. And Japan, it's almost poetic. They want to know if it's a creation of technical ideas that actually uses the laws of nature. 3 completely different ways of trying to define the same thing: innovation.
But here's the thing. This whole debate is so much bigger than just patents. We're talking about changes that could ripple through our entire society, our economy, everything. Okay, this next idea is absolutely crucial to understand. It's called the moral crumple zone. When an autonomous system makes a mistake, let's say that travel agent AI books you on a flight to the wrong country. Who's to blame? The concept describes how we instinctively blame the closest human in the loop, even if they just clicked a button on a system they had zero real control over. They become the crumple zone for a decision they didn't really make.
And what about our economy? This is where things get really wild. On one side, you have this scary idea. AI agents working for competing airlines could all independently figure out, hey, price wars are dumb. Let's all just keep our prices high. That's collusion, but without a single backroom deal. But on the flip side, you could have AI purchasing agents working for us, the travelers, that get smart enough to break up that collusion and drive prices down for everybody. It's a two-sided coin.
And this all builds up to this kind of mind-bending and maybe a little scary idea of an algorithmic society. A future where networks of these AI agents interact so much that they start to create their own rules, their own social norms, completely separate from ours. A digital social contract, but for machines.
So where does that leave us? The tech is moving at lightning speed. The law is trying to catch up. What do we do right now? How do we even begin to navigate this? Okay, so if you're an innovator, an engineer, anyone working with this stuff, here's the game plan for now. First, document everything, every single bit of human involvement. Second, when you write your patent claims, make sure you tie the AI to a bigger, real-world system. Third, focus on concrete results. How does it make something faster or use less energy? And finally, you have got to keep a close eye on the courts and patent offices around the world because the rules are changing constantly. And that brings us to the final, massive question that hangs over all of this. As we stand here, right on the edge of a totally new era of innovation, we have to figure this out. If an AI creates the next big thing, who gets the reward? The programmer who wrote the code? The company that owns the computers? The AI itself? Or maybe, does that invention belong to all of us? The answer we choose will shape the future of creativity itself.